everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Azure Flash News, episode
morning.
85.
That's right.
85. It's been a little while. We had a week.
Yeah,
We went 2
yeah,
weeks kind of
yeah,
this time,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we're getting back to it. We've been kind of busy.
Internal
Got some of our
conferencing
teammates
stuff.
walking by the
Yeah.
door there, so say
That's
hi.
some internal conferencing stuff going on. Some chocolatey goodness happening here. A lot of hackathons, a lot of hands-on,
A lot of learning.
lot of learning. Some
Yeah.
great learnings, and arguably, I think we should take what you guys, all the heavy lifting you guys did yesterday around Private Link.
Yeah.
That could be a whole show.
Yeah, it
Like,
really could.
Literally,
That's a
could
good
be
idea.
A whole show.
We could do that.
Seriously.
Yeah, we spent yesterday. We have a lot of the people on my team. My team. Your team?
Our team.
Our team. Sorry. We all own the team, right?
That's right.
It's shared ownership.
Yes.
Anyway, on our team, the Cloud Solution Architect team here, and we had, what, 7 or 8 of us in the room?
Yeah,
Here
it was pretty impressive.
and we worked through the actual implementation of
Private Link.
Private Link. Yeah, and,
I
turns
think-
out to be a little bit more than you think.
Exactly. I think the learnings
yeah.
were that it's not quite click and go.
Yeah, no,
and,
it's
and I don't think anybody truly expected that, but I think there's maybe a potential disconnect
oh,
between
wow.
exactly.
Not an oh no.
No, not
oh,
oh no, but oh wow.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No,
Ah.
I think that would be an awesome idea. Would be to
Okay.
do like a dedicated show for that.
So
you guys.
Well, okay, yeah. Let's
Yeah.
figure that out.
Okay.
Let's figure that out.
Anyway.
Okay. All right, welcome to episode 85.
85. Today is the 7th of February.
Yes, it is.
February.
February.
And it doesn't sound like
February?
February. It doesn't
No.
sound like we're gonna have a long winter. The groundhog did
Oh
not
my
see a
gosh.
shadow.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
I actually didn't notice.
Punxsutawney Phil apparently predicted an early spring.
Well, and I heard that Punxsutawney Phil has been indicted
Uh-oh.
for mispredicting the weather in like 4 or 5 states. So
Shame on him.
I know he's indicted. He's going to get extradited.
Is he gonna get the chair?
I don't know.
Can-
I hope not.
Can
It would have to be a very small
Can
chair.
you give a groundhog the chair?
I don't know. Anyway, okay, on to
All right.
happier things.
Happier, much happier. Azure, that's right. We've got some
Azure,
good
Azure.
stuff today. We've got some cost management updates, some ML ops topics, recommendations for privacy and security, blueprint update, data factory update, and last but definitely not
No
least, Stream
way.
Analytics,
Oh, yeah.
some cool capabilities.
Yep.
In there.
Let's dive in. All right.
Absolutely. So
Cost management.
Yep. So Azure cost management updates. So what they've taken to doing is they started to kind of on a monthly cadence give you
Mhm.
updates, which I think is awesome because, quite frankly, that's how they're releasing this stuff, right? I mean, they're not waiting 2-3 years. They're not waiting 1 year. They're not waiting 6 months. It's monthly updates.
1 month.
It's crazy, right? So in this particular article, Michael Flanagan, I believe his last, he's a
I've worked-
program manager for Azure Cost Management.
I've actually worked with him just a little
Awesome.
bit.
Very good.
Yep.
So Michael is basically giving us an update. There's some new capabilities around automate reporting for customer
Mhm.
agreement with scheduled exports, which is kind of very slick. Raising awareness of disabled costs, which is really important. So if you've got situations where you've got cost disablement, and so what that means is you're not giving visibility at the subscription level to the I believe the sub owners, right? That so they can see that. So it's telling you, hey, there's situations where people can't see what their costs are, and if you don't know what your costs are, how are you assessing, budget and making sure you're within budget and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah, this is kind of weird. So if you see that, and if you're watching on a video, you can see some of this. You can see some of these pictures that kind of talk about this situation here. I actually have not seen this situation with any of my customers, but obviously, if you're interested in cost management and it's turned off, that's
a problem.
That's a problem. So, and it was an issue, and it's been dealt with now. So if you see this, please check this out.
And you'll at least get a notification on the
Yeah.
cost management side, which is
Yeah,
cool. Cost management labs.
Yep, which is kind of like they've given their preview feature
Right.
a brand name, and so if you want to kind of see what's coming up next, then you can go and check out what's going on in Cost Management Labs.
Exactly.
And there is some new stuff in Cost Management Labs.
Yep. Cost analysis. There's a get started quicker with their cost analysis home views. So it's got built-in views now to get started. So you don't have to necessarily go build a view from scratch. It's got 5 different built-in views that you can go
nice.
in and give you quick access and
That's cool.
get you. So basically, it's getting you from zero to hero faster.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's in Cost Management Lab. So if you want to see that,
Yep.
you might not see that in the regular part of Cost Management. You'll see that in the labs. And
Absolutely.
so go check out how to turn that on.
But-
You'll notice right here, there's a link.
Exactly.
at the
There's
bottom.
always links. But
Yep.
what's really cool too is try preview that give you access. So you're going to have the ability to access preview features in the labs.
That's what Cost Management Labs.
Exactly.
It gives you that chance to kind of see what's coming. And frankly, one of the reasons why we have Cost Management Labs is to get your feedback. So
Absolutely.
go take a look. If you're using Azure Cost Management, go check out the labs and let us know what you think.
Yep.
Hey, somebody else we know.
Hey, stranger.
Ah, somebody walking by.
So this last one I think is really important because this is actually this hits home because it's something my customer's dealing with, and that RBAC role for cost management groups. There's a situation where they're trying to figure out, well, what roles do we have to have, and now you've got cost management reader, you've got billing reader, you've got the reader role, of course, then you've got cost management contributor, standard contributor, and owner. So those are really important because in some cases you're not getting the appropriate assignments, and if you can put that into the cost management, those management groups, right, custom RBAC role into the management groups, that's going to help it trickle down and give you that visibility.
Now, I just want to mention one thing, and that's what a management group is, just in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know what that is.
Good point.
A management group is just a logical container for subscriptions, and it's hierarchical in nature, and there's always a root management group, which is the very top, which kind of represents your tenant, and actually the management group ID is actually your tenant ID in Azure.
Right.
It's like fixed. It is the GUID. After that, you can create more management groups. Like you can say US, global, prod, non-prod, and then group your subscriptions. So now you can look at the costs by prod, non-prod, US, not US, however you want to. However you want to do it. And not only can you do cost management, but you can do RBAC. So in other words, if you have a management group for a business unit and you want to put somebody in charge of that business unit, you can assign them at the management group to be owner if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
Not sure I suggest that, but you can make them the owner at the management group, and then they can manage all of the subscriptions underneath. So it gives you that ability to kind of group up subscriptions. So now we have some roles for cost management for management groups.
This is totally non sequitur, but my ice rash is healing quick.
Ice rash? What is an ice rash?
When we were in Switzerland, when I was snowboarding, I wiped out and I put my hand out. And it was very
kind of like road rash.
Yeah, exactly.
Except it's ice rash.
Except I'm healing well. Thanks for asking.
That's a really hard life to be in Switzerland.
I know, snowboarding.
Don't complain.
I should.
But it's okay. Maybe next week you can tell us a little about Switzerland, how beautiful it is. I bet it's beautiful. Okay.
It is.
Okay, so there's some more sort of various stuff in here. Go check it out if you're doing that. ML Ops. Was there more you want to talk about?
Nope, we're good.
So ML Ops, the first thing I always like to kind of dissect here or bifurcate is there's kind of two phases to this kind of stuff. One is you have to build your models, and then you have to productionalize your models.
Absolutely.
And those are two completely different architectures or two completely different tasks and workflows. They're connected because you're kind of like, it's kind of like in some ways, it is like development and deployment.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're connected. We're connected by an artifact.
Right.
But, like you might do your model development on Spark and do your deployment on, I don't know, Kubernetes or something. Like it can be a completely different thing.
Absolutely. So really ML Ops is bringing together the process, just like DevOps, right? So I mean, it's really kind of bringing together or applying the closed loop feedback cycle and all the other stuff that's associated with your DevOps. And it's really giving you the ML Ops, right? So best practices for implementation, your maturity model, things that you should be doing as you progress through the life cycle. I think it's really kind of important because ML is so prevalent in a lot of the stuff we do today. This is an important aspect of, I'll say productionizing, right? Following a software development life cycle, but in a different domain or different discipline.
Yeah, and I think that it's really easy, and I've seen a lot of this in the data world. There's a lot of ad hoc. So in other words, it's like, can you help me understand what the pricing implication is of changing the price and how much product are we going to move?
Exactly.
And so that's good, and we need to be able to ask once and get an answer. But what we really need to be able to do is ask constantly. And
am I getting a better answer?
Right. And so like we need to do the model development, but we need to actually productionalize it. So we need to get it out into production, but we don't want to do it by hand because we might need to retrain that model. We might need to re-swizzle that model, even for that matter, like change the attributes we're working on. So we need to be able to get things from development into production, which is basically an API, we need to be able to do that securely, quickly, efficiently. And so we have to bring some of those developer mindset around DevOps.
Yep.
And so we give it kind of an interesting little name to kind of bring some poignancy to it, that it's MLOps.
And I love this quote. So what's the value of MLOps, right? What's the big benefit of it? So this quote here from
I think it's GigaOM.
Well, this particular individual is from Johnson
Controls,
Controls, right? So using the MLOps capabilities in Azure Machine Learning, they were able to decrease mean time to repair and unplanned downtime by 66%.
Yeah.
Which is a huge. I mean, you're going to see gains.
And I like the last phrase here, even resulting in substantial business gains.
Because why do we do this? It's all about the business, right?
Yeah,
I mean, without the business, none of us are here.
That's right.
Yeah,
so anyway,
that's powerful.
So if you are doing and Azure, and I think Azure Machine Learning is kind of like the Azure Machine Learning Services.
Yep.
Both you can do building and deployment with Azure Machine Learning Services, and I think we're seeing a lot of uptick.
Oh yeah.
On the deployment side, the MLOps side for Azure Machine Learning Services. So if you're doing that, I would definitely recommend that you check that out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean the use case they give here is really impressive. Thousands of chillers with 70 different types of sensors each, streaming terabytes of data, and they really had to get a handle. I mean, it's just a great use case to think about when you're talking about MLOps, especially at scale.
Yeah, and I think that this is really kind of where the rubber meets the road. It says MLOps helped put models into production in a timely fashion with a repeatable process.
Yep.
And I think that that is what we're really talking about here. I mean, MLOps itself is not about developing good models.
Right.
It's not about doing good feature management. It's about moving these things through an agile development cycle or a Scrum development cycle where we're constantly deploying, making it easy to deploy.
Absolutely.
Cool.
No, I think that's great.
Love it.
So next up, we've got 10 recommendations for cloud privacy and security with, is it Ponemon Research? David Burt.
I'm going with Ponemon.
Ponemon? Okay, fair enough.
I'm going Ponemon.
So we got David Burt, who's the Senior Compliance Manager with Azure Trust and Compliance. This is actually a published document. So these 10 recommendations are coming out of a third party. They did a survey of over 1,000 IT professionals, and basically they were looking at privacy concerns are not, I repeat, privacy concerns are not slowing cloud adoption. Okay, and most privacy-related activities are easier in the cloud. Okay,
wait. I know.
I know.
Wait, say that again.
Most privacy-related activities are easier in the cloud. This is not us saying it, right? This is basically this is a survey of over 1,000 IT professionals saying
that they're finding. This is not even us doing some sort of market research.
Exactly.
I mean, like research of our product.
Right.
This is actually market research of people saying, we found that it was easier.
Well, and some of these numbers are pretty staggering. 53% of US and 60% of EU respondents are not confident that their organization currently meets their privacy and data protection requirements. So over half.
So we're saying they're not sure they're able to do it on-prem, and they're finding it easier to do in the cloud.
Yep, exactly. So just 44% of respondents are vetting cloud-based software platforms for privacy and data security risks, and only 39% are identifying Only 39% of respondents were identifying information that they think is too sensitive to be stored.
Yeah.
So it's getting really interesting in terms of this big pivot point, right? We saw an inflection point a couple years ago where we probably hit the 50% threshold, and we're past that. I mean, let's be honest. I think everybody's discovering and realizing that what we do in the cloud, the $1 billion a year that we invest just in research and development and security,
it might even be more than
the 3,500 cybersecurity experts that we have on staff, the blue-green war game stuff that we do, you're not doing it on-prem.
Yeah.
And it's not an indictment of you're doing it wrong. It's an indictment of this is not a cost affordable, it's just not something that
So take advantage of the investment we can make on your behalf.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So they go through a top 10 list. I'm not going to talk about every single one of these, but what they do is they identify so improve visibility, sensitive or confidential data collected, processed, or stored in the cloud, and the actual service that you can use to help improve the visibility. So Azure Information Protection helps classify and control sensitive data.
Yep.
Another, simplify the authentication of users on both on-prem and cloud, Azure Active Directory, of course, right?
And which is kind of a big one to say, use Azure Active Directory on-prem.
For both, exactly.
Simplify.
Yeah.
Complexity is the opposite of this. Complexity makes security very hard.
That's right. Yes, it does. So anyway, it's a great list. I like the fact though that they call out, basically they map it to a service that says, evaluate cloud-based software and platforms for privacy and security risk, Microsoft Cloud App Security Assess. So Microsoft Cloud Apps Security.
Microsoft Cloud App Security.
Yep,
Assess
assesses
the
the
risk.
risk. Exactly,
It's
right?
a little bit of a,
it's clunky.
and I think it's a great point to make, Rick, is that not only did we give you something to go do, but we told you how to go and do it.
Exactly.
Like, we didn't just say, oh, you ought to like classify your data, and everybody
Right.
kind of goes, okay, maybe I already knew that.
Right. Yeah.
But now you can go use Azure Information Protection to start.
Yep. No, it's great. It's absolutely great.
All right.
So last time we talked about blueprints, we talked about them being CIS available,
Yes,
right?
we had a CIS-based blueprint that implemented some stuff with using the
things and
stuff
whatnot.
and things with the cloud information.
Yeah.
Or wait, what is it called? CS is the Cloud Internet Security.
Yes.
Security Center. Anyway,
Yeah,
well, there are people on my team that would know these things.
Yes.
But anyway, it's the benchmark that it's kind of a consortium of security folks that have kind of said, here are the things we ought to do in the cloud to be secure.
Yep.
And then you can go and implement them in Azure or AWS or whatever.
Yep.
And so we have the CIS benchmarks for Azure that can tell you some things to go and do. And so we had some blueprints to go along with that. And now we have a blueprint that is FedRAMP High.
Yeah. FedRAMP High.
Yeah. And it's available in new regions.
So the interesting, I think there's two interesting things here. So you've got FedRAMP High, okay, which is applicable for blueprints. But what's interesting about this is it's available in both Azure Gov and Azure Public. So for those of you that don't know, you don't have to be in the Azure Gov digital properties to be FedRAMP compliant.
No.
Our actual Azure Public regions are FedRAMP compliant, and this now is giving you the ability to apply a blueprint to your deployment to be in compliance as well. So that combination puts you in, well, I guess almost full compliance. I'm sure there's still a few things that you have to do, but it probably gets you like 80 or 90% of the way of having infrastructure and your environment compliant, as well as your operating system, your servers, your configurations compliant.
Yeah, and the thing that just to kind of note here, in case people are remembering this, we actually did release some FedRAMP blueprints back November, just a few months ago, but those were FedRAMP moderate.
Oh, so not high.
And these are FedRAMP high, just so that people kind of realize that. And then, of course, there is, a whole slew of other NIST SP 800-53, IRS 1075,
a lot of combos.
ISO 27001. So these are all things we really take into account. These things we take this stuff really seriously.
Oh yeah.
That if we're going to tell you that this blueprint is FedRAMP High certified, that it is.
And so this is certified. So high means severe or catastrophic effect. Basically, is what I'm seeing from the categorization.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't want a catastrophic event happening to me.
No. That's right. So in other words, the loss of this data or this system, if the loss of the confidentiality, integrity, or availability could have on an organization, if it's high, severe, catastrophic, then that means FedRAMP High.
Yep, exactly.
If it's kind of a tertiary system for you, then that may be FedRAMP Low.
Sure.
But of course, obviously, we're not FedRAMP lawyers,
but
that's kind of the idea about how in general.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're continuing to
obviously.
We're continuing to develop these things with customers. Obviously, I mean, this doesn't happen in isolation. It usually happens with customers.
Yep.
And so if you're looking at FedRAMP, and I think the other thing to remember is there actually are other Azure blueprints.
Oh yeah.
And an Azure blueprint, just in case you don't know, is basically a package of ARM templates, ARM template or templates, and some Azure policies, and RBAC assignments. And they all kind of go out and you deploy it into a resource group, and it applies the ARM template, and it applies the policy, and it applies the RBAC, all in one package.
Which is slick.
Yeah, so because a lot of times those things go all together, because you can't deploy just for example, a FedRAMP compliant, widget, and unless you actually guaranteed you need to control who has access to it. So that's in the package, and so that's why it's all bundled up together.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Data Factory.
Yeah, Data Factory. So Data Factory this is important because I think there's a little bit of confusion about what Data Factory is.
Okay.
Just to start here, Data Factory is primarily a big data movement and data orchestration.
Yeah.
Okay. So Data Factory does have some ETL in-flight capabilities, so I'm not saying that, but in general, what we generally see is it's batch oriented.
Yep.
Every 15 minutes is kind of the minimum. And it helps take your data from on-prem or anywhere, in any cloud, and bring it and orchestrate it into its destination using typically big data manipulation tools like Spark or
Absolutely.
Azure Data Warehouse, or which is now called Synapse,
Yep.
or I don't know, whatever.
Well, data lake storage and
you can put it in
database, Synapse Analytics. Yeah, there's a bunch of different features that you can help with. Absolutely.
So if you're talking about streaming data, probably not Data Factory.
Nope.
But if you're talking about batchy data that you want to kind of perform bulk uploads, translations on, and kind of help coordinate building, if you're thinking of a Lambda architecture, which you have the fast lane and you have the slow lane.
Yep.
Azure Data Factory is for coordinating and dealing with the slow lane.
Slow lane, right. So you're going to use something like Event Hubs and Stream Analytics for fast lane.
That's right.
Yep.
And this is the slow lane.
Yep.
Now, on to the announcement. Everybody loves managed identity.
Yes. Well, it helps with a lot of things.
Well, now, if you don't know what managed identity is like on-prem. It's called managed service identity.
Yeah, MSI. Managed service identity. Yep.
So in other words, it's an account that you don't know the password. Nobody ever knows the password that you can assign as a principal to have rights.
Yep.
Well, in Azure, managed identity is basically, I like to think of it like a computer account.
Yeah.
So in other words, like whenever you turn on Data Factory and use managed identity, this managed identity is the principal, is the identity object for the Data Factory.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like Oz behind the curtain working Data Factory. There's actually an identity associated with it.
Right. And so then now we have an identity that nobody knows the password to, that nobody can log on as, that life cycles with the Data Factory. In other words, if we delete the Data Factory, it's gone.
Yep.
And so now we can then assign that managed identity access to Azure Data Lake Gen 2 or whatever, so that now the Data Factory can deposit data in Azure Data Lake Gen 2 using managed identity instead of using the keys, which is we're constantly making headway in giving you the capability to for these batch systems to use managed identity rather than keys.
Yeah, which I like because, quite frankly, I like the idea of registering an application with, say, Azure Active Directory, and then using managed identity or using service principals or using some kind of an account. So instead of just blindly trusting the service, it's going to go and it's going to look up and say, does this, it exists. Okay, everything's hunky-dory. It can talk to me. It's a no-brainer, right? But there was a time, right, when we were connecting to SQL Server databases using SA as the username and no password, right? There was a time when we were that naive to think that was okay, and it's not okay, and constantly raising your security posture and creating more of a defensible position against nefarious actors. And let's be honest, this doesn't solve for every problem under the sun, but it makes it a lot harder. And that's the thing is, we don't want to make things easy for people. Right?
And I think it's important to understand that
bad people, I should say.
Bad people, that's right. But I think in this case, we're not only increasing security, but we are also making it easier. Because now you don't have to worry about key rotation.
Oh, exactly.
So if you did use a service principal, which has a client secret, which is, that's an acceptable way to connect.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I think ideally we would all prefer to have managed identity, so that it's just an identity that nobody has access to, that nobody knows anything about, that that nobody can phish. For instance.
Right. Yeah. Good luck.
It's not an account.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. So being able to kind of strategize around managed identity rather than any other key-based access is a really good, it's a nice improvement. So we're working on that all the time.
Yeah, no, it was a great announcement.
Okay.
So this is, last but not least, this is something that is definitely near and dear, I think, too. It kind of...
Well, this is the other side of the
Data Factory. Yeah, fair enough.
Talk about stream
Absolutely.
analytics.
No, that's a great point.
Well, for those who don't know Stream Analytics, I'll just briefly mention it. If you have a stream of data coming through, like say IoT, although sometimes it doesn't have to be IoT.
Right.
Like you might have a stream of CDC updates from a database.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The change feed,
right? Yeah, change feed, something like that. So it's not, but just think of it as a stream. Like we're gonna back off from the I don't know, IoT scenario.
Yeah.
Although that is a stream.
But it is broader than that.
But it is broader than that.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, Azure Stream Analytics is our complex event processing for those of you who are kind of long in the tooth like me. That is available in the cloud.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, I think that this analytics thing actually used to be available as a part of SQL Server, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But this is a way for you to, and the language of Azure Stream Analytics is SQL.
Yep.
Okay, SQL-like. So whenever you define inputs, you define outputs, and then you define a SQL statement that takes the input and plumbs it to the output. So literally you say, select star from this input into that output. Yep. And of course, in the select statement, you can do interesting things, like you can transform the data. You can check to see if something is greater than something. You can fire events.
And that's a point. Like, and unfortunately, that's more applicable to the IoT strategy, where if temperature greater than X, now we want to do this. We want to kick off a process for alerting, or maybe in the database, if audit failure anomaly, that kind of stuff, then do this, right? So that's where you might actually think about incorporating some of that stuff into the stream. So you're querying the data in flight is what it comes down to. So it's bringing you closer to the genesis of the data so that you can detect and respond quicker than if it's, cold path where it's the data factory and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think what we're talking about here is, so we'll get to the announcement now. And the announcement is about its anomaly detection functions in Azure Stream Analytics. And so what we're talking about doing is making it easy for you to do anomaly detection. And you don't have to write the models.
You don't have to develop it. You don't have to train it. These are built-in models that you can leverage just kind of out of the box. They're ready to use. They're unsupervised learning models.
Yeah, you got to unpack that. Unsupervised means it doesn't know. You don't need the source data to train the model.
Right.
So it's unsupervised that way. And so, but we do watch and do anomaly detection. And you can just add it and use it.
Well, you call a function basically. So these are built in. You call a function. The function returns, whatever the statistically significant or confidence level or whatever it is, and then you can act on it that way. But these are built in, so it's almost like having pre-built, like extended store procedures back in the day, right? Built-in capabilities for you to do certain things.
It's very much like it's like a store procedure, or like in the syntax, it's like a SQL Server function.
Exactly.
It really is.
No, absolutely.
And you can even write your own. If you want to, and I think it's done in JavaScript. But this one is ready to go, ready for you to use, and ready for you to try
out of the gate. So I highly recommend if you're doing anomaly detection, and you're building or you're wiring and you're bailing wire and bubble gumming things over here to make things happen, this might be an interesting way to incorporate it directly into the data, that data feed, and processing the data in flight. Because what that's doing is it's taking you from the downstream componentry and bringing it into the data in flight as it's coming in. Now you have an ability to react closer to real time.
Cool.
Right.
Okay.
So that brings us to the end.
Yeah, I think so. Rick, if people want to reach out to you and find you after the show, how can they get to you?
As usual, you can reach me at Rick, WEY, @Microsoft.com. That's my email address. I'm happy to take emails. Otherwise, I'm always listening at Azure Flash News for our Twitter account. Certainly, you can direct message us or just ping us via Twitter. And Mark?
You can get me at mgarner on Twitter. Sorry, my brain is not working. Or you can email me, mgarner@microsoft.com.
Right on.
And you know what? We totally forgot to talk about this, but we got some bugs.
Oh, yes.
Wait, I meant to bring one this morning.
So, from now on, we should have a
Dave. I should be pouring my coffee into
David Letterman coffee cup from now on.
I know.
So we are going to start doing, I think, kicking out here maybe a contest or something where we're going to start doing some mug giveaways. We've got some Azure Flash News mugs that we're going to incenting people to either go ahead and rate us, maybe give us a review on Twitter or on iTunes, or Stitcher or someplace else. We'll figure something out, but we definitely have got a collection of mugs now that are ready to go service up somebody's coffee.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
And you can show your Azure Flash News pride.
That's right.
That's awesome.
And if you get one, send us a picture, and we'll certainly retweet it.
Definitely.
Right?
This is great. Okay, we totally forgot.
I know. I'm glad you brought that up.
But what I'm kind of thinking is we can like look for a really interesting tweet that somebody
Yes,
sent to
yes,
us
yes,
or a
absolutely.
review, and we'll send you a mug for doing
Yep.
that. So we'll figure it out. We'll let you know.
Totally.
Okay.
In the interim, you can always find us on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher,
Google.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're available for consumption. If you like us, please subscribe and
Please
give us
do.
a good rating. If you
Please.
don't, let us know what we can do better.
Yeah.
We're always looking for ways to improve the process or improve the program, improve the information that we give out to you.
And share the news.
That's
Let
right.
us tell your friends about Azure Flash
Yep.
News. We want to help as many people as we can keep up with
Absolutely.
what's going on in Azure. So let your friends know.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. And thank you so much to the MTC, Doug
Yes.
Splinter and Emily McMiller for helping us through this process and coordinating and orchestrating and doing all that great stuff. Without them, there's no way
There is
we
no
could do
show.
this. That's
Yeah,
right.
That's right. So
Awesome.
thanks to Emily for that.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. We, as usual, we always look forward to having this conversation. And until the next time we do, keep your head in the your fingers on the keyboards and your head in the clouds.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.